I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, March the 26th, where we had a basis flip late last week there. You know, if you'd been paying attention to the difference between your index levels, both your real-time index and your CME feeder cattle index and your spot feeder cattle futures, your cash market was sitting way out in front of that board because the board's just been tailing off steadily for the last 2 or 3 weeks here. But I tell you, the tanking that the cash feeder market took last week, it caught up with it and went below it at the end of last week, and even on that 7-day moving average was just progressively lower and just really worked down a whole bunch and is now sitting right under what your April feeder cattle and March feeder cattle are sitting at. You look at the board for last week. June live cattle futures ended the week at 106.20. That was down $5.55 for the week. Your April spot live cattle ended the week at 116.05, and that's about a $10 discount to what the cash fat cattle market are doing right now, and we're in the last week of March. But you look at your feeder cattle. April feeder cattle, more popularly traded than the March, but April sitting at 136.10. That's $4.10 lower for the week. Your March sitting down there at 135.70, and like I said, that's down there a long ways, but it's still better than what your real-time index is, as it ended up for the week at 135.38. Look at your fat cattle trade for last week. A big healthy movement of cattle, even though we're tight on market ready supplies. Your feedlots are going ahead and moving as many cattle out as they can, likely pulling some of those cattle ahead a little bit. We're talking about the big wall of cattle coming, and it seems like the wall's never as big as what everybody thinks it is, but we've got a lot of cattle on feed, and a lot of them going to be ready towards the end of April. But we're selling some big numbers. 5 area feeding regions sold 111,700 ahead through Thursday, and there'll be just a trickle on Friday, but not too many more. Your live market was mostly 126. In fact, your weighted average on live steers ended up at 125.94. That was down straight up $2 from the weighted average at the end of last week or the previous week. Your dress steers ranged from $2 to $204. That $204 was kind of by your regionals, and early in the week there it worked down into $203. We didn't think we had that much less than $203, but we did, because you look at the weighted average on dress steers was setting under $202 at $201.88. That's down $3.93 compared to the weighted average from the end of the previous week. Box beef cutout values were largely steady, which was a good level to hold because we've been seeing gains there for over a month now. But your choice boxes ended for the average trade of last week, 224.18. That was down 28 cents. And selects in the average trade of last week, 216.97, up 9 cents. So not a big mover there. Slaughter was fairly aggressive, over 600,000 at 607,000, which was 12,000 more than the previous week, 6,000 less than the same week a year ago. It had a cold storage report come out last Thursday. Beef pounds in cold storage were 8% below last month, and also 8% below the same time a year ago, so that's kind of encouraging. Cattle on feed report snuck up on us and come out there on Friday. Not a big mover. I guess if you had to weigh it one way or the other, of course it's going to be a little bit bearish because of the big numbers we have in inventory. But you look at that, your March inventory levels were predicted to be at 108.1. The actuals come in at 108.7, which the analysts didn't miss them very far, but still that 108.7 is the largest cattle and feed inventory we've had since October of 2006, and we know that we've got a ton of them out there, not a lot of pen space available. That's what's hurting our cash feeder cattle market more than anything. Your placements, they had those pegged at 104.5. Placements for February come out at 107.2, which yes is bearish a little bit, but they've been missing them so far for the last year or two. That's not going to be a big deal, I don't think, to the marketplace. We're already in a bearish mode. But marketings for February, they had them pegged at 101.4 and they come out at 101.6. So that leans back a little bit there, but your placement levels at 107.2 of February. Most of those numbers, the increase came on 7-weight cattle, which were forced off of your drive wheat pastures and had to go into on feed there somewhere. Most of those cattle were probably going to be coming off of wheat if they could have lasted till the end of the regular wheat grazing season, weighing in the 8 to 8.5 range there, but they were weighing in the 7s and went right on feed. Let's look at your feeder cattle markets, your real-time index on Beef Market Central, and the average 7 days from 7 to 899 pounds there. That ended the week at 135.38. Like I said, it was below your spot feeder cattle futures for the first time in a long time, and down $6.90 compared to the end of the previous week. And that goes right along with your trend out of your sale barns for last week. It was $5 to $10 lower on all classes. Light demand noted, even on calf weights, but for sure on big feeders, and just not a lot of takers out there, and really has tailed off here in the last couple 3 weeks. From it hasn't been just a month ago, you know, guys were just still gathering cattle up like they weren't going to make any more of them, and really guys sick that didn't get their cattle sold then if they had the option to do that. But late last week, there's some individual quotes. Lexington, Nebraska, they got good cattle around there and they can sell them high. Not a lot of home-raised one-iron light calves this time of year up in that country, but they had some on Friday there. 71 head of 565-pound steers bring 193.50. That's close to as good as we saw there all late winter and early spring. And then just kind of a good test of the market and a good Saturday sale in East Central Kansas. Fort Scott Livestock Market in Fort Scott, Kansas there on Saturday. This is what the marketing is, guys. 62 head of 810-pound steers bring 133.50. I would expect that your big volume Monday sales would be just a pinch lower, because they've got a little bit lower to do to catch up with the mid to late week sales last week. So we're going to be starting out kind of on the low side. But that's your feeder flash for Monday.